Yoga Teacher Hotline.
Hey Brea, I had a quick question. I have a student who comes to class and they kind of just do their own thing. So I'll be guiding the students through a sequence and I'll look over and they're doing their own version or their own thing completely. I'm just unsure how to address it.
What to do? I feel like this will happen at some point in each yoga teacher's career where, again, somebody comes onto your class and for whatever reason, they're going to be doing something different. What do we do? Well, I think it depends, as always, but I think it really depends on what exactly that other person is doing. I've got two examples in my experience that come to mind where, one, I was the teacher and I was a new teacher at a new studio. And two of the other teachers that were already teaching at that studio came to take one of my classes. And this was like, I think if I remember correctly, it was maybe a beginner class or a level 1 or a mixed level class. And these two teachers ended up doing their own thing, but their own thing was the more advanced, quote, versions of the pose. So I would be teaching, let's say, a simple forward bend, and then they would be doing something more dramatic or deeper range of motion type movement that wasn't actually really doing what I was teaching. So there's that option, that experience. And then another time years ago, I was a student and we were doing pigeon pose in the class. And for me and my body, doing a traditional pigeon pose doesn't feel good, and I always have achy hips afterwards. So I was doing a modification. I was doing pigeon pose, but in a way that worked for my body, in a way that I knew worked for my body. And the well-meaning teacher came over and she tried to adjust me and put me into something different. And I had to say, hey, thank you, but I'm dealing with an injury. I can't quite do this. And she was really, again, well-meaning, but insistent that I actually do what she wanted me to do. And I had to be a little bit more firm and go, no, this is what my body needs. So there's these two examples, and I share them because it really depends on the class that the person is in or the class that you're teaching. It depends on what that person is doing. So let's go to the example number 1 of the two teachers doing more advanced versions of the poses in my class. That one, and I will admit, kind of annoyed me at that time because I was like, what are you doing? Are you showing off? What are you, I'm a new teacher here. It felt actually kind of disrespectful. And I don't know what their intentions were, so I can't speak to why they were doing something different. But I feel that when somebody is doing something different in a class, that's more, and of course I'm using the word advanced very loosely, so a pose that maybe many bodies can't do, especially the people who are in that class, that feels a little less respectful of the class dynamic and energy. And what I mean by that is having somebody, let's say it's a beginner class, having somebody come to your class and do the harder version of the pose. We're in a group class. People will see that. The people in front of you or behind you or beside you will see that. And maybe they'll go, oh no, wait, that person's doing that. I want to be able to do it, that. And then they start to go into comparing mode. And for me as a teacher, I'm very clearly wanting to teach accessible, inclusive classes. So my energy that I create in the class, the feeling that I want to create as a teacher in the class then is encouragement, acceptance, having people do what feels right for them, which I recognize as I'm saying this, you could argue, well, those teachers were doing what felt right for them. But I feel like that's a little bit more nuanced. Maybe that's true, but then if you do have a stronger or more quote, quote, advanced practice, do you need to go, why are you going to a class and doing something completely different? In that case, then maybe you know what your body wants. You want a stronger practice than what the class is offering. So then you don't go to that class, and then you're respecting that teacher and you're respecting the students in the class. So without that being a very binary answer, I feel like if it's heading into that more performative experience for that student who's, look at me doing this, then that's not respectful. And as a teacher, then what do? Well, you just let them be them, and they're going to do what they're going to do. I don't think you need to say anything. If that person continues to come a lot, let's say if I had those two teachers came to all my classes and did the same thing over time, I would, especially once the relationship has developed a little bit, I would bring it up and I would go, hey, I noticed you're doing something a little bit different in my class, and I find it, and I'm looking around and I'm seeing that maybe it's a little bit distracting for some of the people in the class because they're looking at what you're doing and they're not looking at what they're doing anymore. And I'm really interested in encouraging an inclusive environment in my classes. So to keep that inclusive feeling, I really love it when people try to be on the same page with the poses as best we can. So saying something like that for that scenario. But then here's the nuance. Now we can go into option 2, or my experience 2. So if somebody is doing something different in one of my classes, but they're doing something so clearly different because they know what's right for their body. Maybe they've realized, oh, I love using this prop and this pose in this way because it's supportive of this shoulder injury or hip injury or whatever it is for my body. And I can see that they're doing that. Yes, go ahead. I say nothing. I do nothing. In fact, I maybe give them a little smile or some form of encouragement and acknowledgement like, yeah, you do you. You just keep it up. Great choice. And you can tell in our classes when it's that situation or when it's a little bit more of a performative situation. And the real continuing question is, again, as a teacher, well, how do you manage either one of those things? Is it disruptive to the other people in the class? Is it, I think there's a different type of disruption. I don't think, in my experience, the people who are giving themselves or sharing their own or doing their own modifications for a different pose, I don't find that disruptive. I don't think anybody else in the class is finding disruptive, because we can very clearly see that that person is listening to their body and doing what's right for them. When it ekes into the performative side of things and an advanced or more able-bodied practitioner is doing things that are not quite the same as other people in the class, and it's creating sort of a hierarchy feeling, then that becomes a little, again, more questionable. And ultimately, as a teacher, I might see these things happen, and for most of the time, I don't say anything. I'll observe, oh, neat, okay, wow, that person is doing what they're doing. And again, if over time if it seems to be disruptive to the people around them, or just kind of be disruptive to the overall vibe of the class, then I think it's worth just kindly talking to them, as I mentioned. But yeah, that's a tricky one, and it goes to also your sense of comfort as a teacher. How much do I want to manage my students in the moment, and how much do I want to manage their experiences? So hopefully that helps you. So remember, if you've got more questions, just give us a call here on Yoga Teacher Hotline.